Hello there, and welcome to the DOS Way podcast. I am your host, Tahesha Way, your New Jersey Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State. And today I am actually at Bethany Baptist Church in Newark, visiting one of the great freedom schools in this state at the Bethany Cares Newark Center. And I have two great individual leaders who are doing their thing in this space. For one, I have Mr. Eddie LaPorte. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Okay, Eddie is the Executive Director of the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives within my Department of State. And I also have another phenomenal individual who has been leading in the Freedom School creation, Dr. Suzette Jones. How are you today?
Great.
Well, I tell you, folk, I have had an extraordinary morning with the students at the Freedom School. We have engaged in reading, learned about the meaningful impact our teachers have had. We have spoken about societal issues. We've seen students do the Macarena. We have done it all. And these kids are succeeding. They are engaging. They are all inspiring future leaders. So that is why I felt it was important to bring it home on this July podcast. So thank you both for coming on the podcast. First, Eddie LaPorte. Before we get into a description of what exactly the Freedom Schools are, can you just tell us about OFBI?
Sure. Thanks a lot for that question, Governor. So the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives is a division within the Department of State that funds faith and community-based organizations to provide social services to those individuals that are socially and economically disenfranchised. And we fund organizations from throughout the state. Let me also say that our name is a misnomer. Even though it's the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, we don't fund religious institutions.
Correct.
We fund those religious institutions that create separately incorporated secular 501c3s that allow them to competitively apply for grants, not only through the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, but through other departments in the Department of State and other state agencies throughout the state. So we have a three-pronged approach. We provide funding, we provide training and technical assistance to help them become more efficient in the day-to-day operations of their organizations. And then we also connect them to state resources that they may not know that's available to them and or to their constituents.
So it's basically about empowerment, correct,
Yes,
Eddie?
yes. We teach them, what's that old saying? We teach them to fish. As opposed to just giving them a handout. And we train them and we provide the training for them to become better in their board development and grant writing and program design and implementation and how to collect data and use that data so that they can get funding from other sources.
Love it. And part of the department or the division is a focus on innovation.
Right.
Okay, you want to speak a little bit about that?
Sure. So we try to fund organizations that create innovative approaches to address social issues, right? So we don't want them to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. We try to fund programs that look at their local communities and create programs specifically to the needs of their community so that there's immediate buy-in and that it resonates with the members, with the community members. So we'll fund college readiness programs, but we'll use that funding to allow them to create college tours so they can go to 5 HBCUs over the course of a weekend, right? And we fund skills trade readiness to allow our communities to understand the importance of the skills, the trade skills, at the same time that they're hearing about college, because not everybody is ready to go to college. So we believe that folks should learn, or students should learn about college at the same time they should learn about trades, because New Jersey is a state where there's a lot of trade opportunities, but there aren't a lot of skilled trades people. And you can create wealth through the trades, and then you can go to college later as you mature.
I love it. And that's so important, just the basic understanding that there's always going to be the two tracks, right, of success. You have your colleges, your universities, but at the same time, the importance still of the trades. And getting back to innovation, we're here at a freedom school. Can you give some meaning and what is behind the concept of freedom schools? Because I think oftentimes individuals may hear about them and they say, well, what makes this different than a enrichment, studies that students could get throughout the year?
Right. That's a great question. So I'm always explaining to people that these aren't traditional district schools. These are summer literacy programs. And how this started was in 1964, the Mississippi bus rides down to Mississippi with the freedom folks during the 60s civil rights movement went down to Mississippi to teach the children how to read, how to understand math, and teach them advocacy and history and science, the courses that they weren't taking or they weren't open to those opportunities in Mississippi in 64. The Children's Defense Fund then took that with Marion Wright Edelman to create what's called the Freedom Schools, to teach individuals that are in impoverished communities the love of reading. As we were talking about earlier, the love of reading opens you up to all other opportunities and possibilities. It teaches you how to write. It teaches you how to read. Of course, it teaches you how to imagine. It teaches you how to understand, how to apply yourself. And so the first freedom schools were in 1994.
Oh.
Those are the first two freedom schools. But in New Jersey, we have a rich history of freedom schools. It started about the early 2000s. And Bethany was one of the first few freedom schools that started with the St. Luke's, the Newark Freedom Schools, the Camden Dream Center in Camden, and the Shiloh CDC, the Lenora M. Green Freedom School in Trenton.
So we have a history maker.
So we have a history person, a history maker here. And so Freedom Schools is designed to lessen the learning loss that happens over the summertime. Because what happens is that our children, if they're behind in September, they have to take remedial courses.
Correct.
And they take 2 marking periods of remedial courses. That's 6 months. And they don't get introduced to the new information of that current year until halfway through the year. So if you compound that year after year after year, that's why little Eddie, when he goes to high school, is reading in the 6th grade reading rattle, because he's been behind all these years. And Freedom Schools is trying to reduce that process. And then when the state came in with funding, we said, okay, we want that, but we also want some other deliverables. We want you to teach STEM. We want you to teach math. We want you to improve their language arts. We want you to follow them throughout the academic school years for those children that are academically deficient coming into Freedom School, so that we can make sure that they're proficient academically throughout the academic school year. So it's a lot. And we went from 5 in 2 years to 17 and 19 sites.
Wow. Throughout the state. And I tell you, last year, you mentioned St. Luke's. I was there at their Freedom School, another extraordinary experience. What you witness, students who are truly engaged.
Yes.
In the learning process. Yeah, we were doing Macarena, but folk out there, that's just, a little, let's call it recess portion of the day, but they're learning different languages. And the other component of this all, they do the harambe. And you just see that the kids are collegial.
Right.
Something which, I know it's not academic, but, there are challenges in which, students may not get along. And the students seem as if they truly are enjoying their peers' company and learning from them too, the good things. So I'm thankful that OFBI, has really engaged significantly on all fronts, making sure that there's partnerships throughout the state for these freedom schools. And thank you so much, Eddie, for that. Now, turning to the history maker, Dr. Jones, how do families get their children here? Can you just, we see the kids, but just walk us through the process with all of this?
Luckily for us, we've been here since 2006. Originally, our first set of Freedom School students happened at a time when I was creating University Heights Charter School. So we used the students from that lottery for the first 50 students that were coming into University High Charter School as our first set of 50 scholars. The goal for Bethany Baptist Church was to have a school in this building, and we wanted to make sure that goal and mission from Reverend Dr. Scott was realized. So we added this Freedom School component, and to ensure that University High Charter School started out good, we started with the Freedom School. From that 50 students and those 50 initial families, it became like referrals. Okay. So parents got to learn from other parents about what the program consists of, what their engagement needs to be, and how their children for that first year impacted. The second year we went out to the schools, the local schools. We spoke to the principals, we spoke to the guidance counselors, and we asked that they recommend that students that will be beneficial to these programs. Now, once the kids are applying, we also take their report cards into considerations. And we based our decision based on who needs the most help. We ensure that we have our high school students who were in tune with what we need. So their high school students serve as the help in the classrooms, and then our college students serve as the teachers in the classroom. We realized that the kids were more engaged with those two age groups, right? Then based on the first 2 years after us many going out recruiting that second year, after the third year till now, we really don't go out and do the recruitment because the program speaks for itself. For example, our scholars, we'll have scholars that has transitioned to volunteers after they come out of the program. Then they come back and be junior interns when they're in high school.
I love that.
Then they come back when they're in college and then become servant leaders. And then 3 of them came back to be program director. So it's built in that we grew from within. And the more we grow from within, is we normally typically just have one grade level to fill because those kids are coming back year after year until they phase out of the program. Once they phase out, they come back and they volunteer. And I spoke to like teachers and even high school kids. When they started the program, they never imagined becoming a teacher. Now they're teachers. One of our program director, she wanted to become a teacher because of Freedom School. Now she has her license in New York and one in New Jersey to teach. So that's how we get the people in, and that's how they stay in. So we don't have to really do much recruitment because it's grounded in where we are.
I see. And I know that New Jersey is that little state with a lot of wow, as we say. But what really drew you to build this up in the great state of New Jersey? What did you see about us here, all 9.3 million of us, which made you want to do this?
Well, growing up in Jamaica, I lived by what my great-grandmother always say, you can be a jack of all trades, but you don't have to master any. And for me, coming to the United States at 12, living in Vineland, and having to deal with a lot of obstacles, that's what stayed in my mind. When I came to Bethany and realized that Bethany had a Christian academy, then we had to transition over to a Christian school. It was always like my heart wish to say, okay, how can we make a difference, even if it's in one child? Because if I can remember just my great-grandmother saying those words and it carried me through life, then why can't we do it for anybody else? When we came to Bethany in 2000, as we're restructuring, we had a scholarship program, and faith-based initiative was coming around that time. So I went to my boss, Dr. Howard, and said, how about we create a faith-based organization, mainly to help our scholarship recipients so we can give to other kids outside of Bethany. While doing that, while creating Bethany Cares, this program came up, the Juvenile Reentry Program, where we work with the Juvenile Center, Essex. And as I was working with those young men, and we'll sit and we'll have these conversations, I had a 1-year-old son at the time, and I was pregnant with my second child at the time. And I said to him, now, what can I do to prevent my sons in the future from ending up here? 2 things. He said, you need to spend more time with your son. In the summer, make sure they're engaged in something. So when Dr. Linda Epps came to Dr. Howard about Freedom School and we researched it and the movement from the 60s, I was very passionate about that. We had an additional $50,000 from the state that was supposed to use for juvenile. I went on the phone and I said, hi, I know this was for the juvenile reentry program. However, because it's shifting from the Essex, we're not going to be able to run the program as effectively. Can we use this $50,000 to run a preventive program? Because that's what I looked at Freedom School as. It's a preventive measure to help so those kids, you have less kids coming into the system. In doing Freedom School, what you find too is that you have parents that couldn't read as well. So therefore, Bethany Cares have this literacy, adult literacy, one-on-one, right? And as we're going through, and there was times like in 2010 when we ran out of funding, but I wasn't going to give up because we had to find a way. The kids were more important to me than anything else. Just thinking about what would happen to them over the summer and seeing how, like even inside of it, there's a mentorship level with the college students to the high school students, with me, and then mentoring the parents as well. So it's not just for the children, but it's for the parents as well, because the parents need support. Some of them don't know how to read. Some of them do not understand how to help their student report card with their homework. So of course, some of them didn't have a mother or father there to kind of guide them either. So that's why it was so important and so crucial that no matter what, this program had to last. And thank God it lasted this long. I only took a break one summer, and that was the most miserable summer of my life because I did not know where these children were, what they were doing. Are they learning? Some parents, I'll reach them and say, oh, make sure they're reading. If you need books, we have books. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was doing. So after that year, I just didn't like the feeling. So we did whatever it took to continue. Thank God, Office of Base Initiative turned in and came. But I was still going to do the program regardless because it's too important right now to stop.
That was so eloquently stated, especially about trying to be preventative, right, for our youth. And I know that way back in the day when I served as, at that time it's called the freeholder, I was a Passaic County commissioner. We, and I was the director of that freeholder board, we had decided, and my means of leadership to this was the closure of the juvenile detention center. And the reason why, I was really in support of it is because nationally there was the Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative programs. And I worked with the judiciary, the assignment judges, et cetera, to somewhat bring that into the fold because of the importance of not saying immediately, let's detain our youth, but let's start to create alternatives, right, for them to become productive. And another phenomenal aspect about my morning visit was just, a class, young kids engaging in social issues in hopes of, making sure that they become civically involved, even at a young age, kindergarten, first grade, what have you, that lifelong learner, not only on the academics, but of course, socially. So this has truly been a great experience. I want to ask you, before we close, Dr. Jones, if our audience wants to support Bethany Cares Network, Newark, or an existing Freedom School in their community, how would they do that?
Okay, so our major, what we look for is expertise, right? So bring your expertise. So if you are an individual that learn music or know how to play tennis, for example, you can volunteer your time to teach our children. So the best way to get in touch with us is my email at sjones@bci-newark.org or on our website, bci-newark.org.
You want to repeat that one more time?
bci-newark.org. That's our website that you can engage, or you can, or in my email, sjones@bci-newark.org. What we need basically is, again, the funding sources. So we do different type of fundraisers. We just had a golf outing So we do a golf outing every year to raise funds. We have special days. Or if you have like book bags or something that you want to drop off, don't just drop off the book bags with stuff in it. What's more important to me is the message, right? So put a message in for each child as to why you believe in them. You don't know them, they don't know you. But at least they will know that somebody that haven't seen them, don't know them, believe they can make a difference for the future and a difference for this world, and that they can be good, loyal, decent citizens.
Mm-hmm. And back to you, Eddie. If someone gives you a call, how can they establish a freedom school in the state? Or just calling your OFBI and getting more information, where do they go? How do they do this?
Well, they can Google us at the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, and it'll bring up to the homepage.
Okay.
And on our homepage is a tab called Freedom School. So on that Freedom School page, it'll give them information on what a Freedom School is. My concern, Governor, and I've been saying this for the last 3 years, is don't create a Freedom School because the state has resources. Create a freedom school because you believe in the promise of freedom school. And whether there's funding or not, you're going to create a freedom school. Just because there's funding now doesn't mean there's funding next year, the year after that, or the year after that. So what we don't want to try to do is create false hopes for these children, create a freedom school for 1 year, and then the next year it's not there. That being said, we do have a planning grant that we provide. It's competitive, that organizations can apply, and that we prepare them to be able to implement a Freedom School program the following summer. So they go through a whole bunch of training. We assess the organization, we assess the facility.
Which is important.
Yeah, we help them with recruiting. You know, we have volunteer forms on our page that if anybody wants to volunteer, they can volunteer, and then we share that information with the Freedom Schools. And then once they receive the grant, the funding is increased to implement the pilot project the following summer, just to make sure that, one, they know what they're doing, and two, they're successful, and three, that it resonates with the community, because there's a level of education. If you don't know about Freedom School, then the community doesn't know about Freedom School. It isn't a topic that's well known. It's in a secret society, and what we're trying to do is get it out there. So we started with 5, we're at 17, we're all over the state of New Jersey, we're really trying to push in South Jersey. They can get in touch, they can find about Freedom Schools there. They can also email me at edward.laporte@sos.nj.gov. That's edward.lap as in Peter, ORTE @sos.nj.gov. They can call me, 732-289-1896. They can text me, 732-289-1896. I'll meet with you. I'll meet with your leadership team. I'll explain what this is all about. We will do everything in our power to get you prepared to implement the Freedom School. You just got to bring the desire and the discipline and the commitment, and we'll make it happen.
Wonderful. Okay, audience, we got all the information about Freedom Schools, the good work that they're doing, the two great leaders. Thank you for joining, and of course, making sure that you are available and accessible to the public. And I thank you all, and continue the good work with the Freedom Schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.